Hey, and thank you for joining us in the Finance Magnates Blockchain podcast. I'm your host, Rachel McIntosh, and this week we sat down with Nick Cowan, the managing director and founder of the Gibraltar Blockchain Exchange Limited, who is now also the CEO of the Gibraltar Blockchain Exchange. The GBX aims to be a world-leading institutional-grade token sale platform and cryptocurrency exchange, and is one of the first cryptocurrency exchanges to be operated by an EU-regulated stock exchange. The GBX is designed to operate on a blockchain platform of its own and is holding an ICO from February 7th to February 14th, in which it hopes to sell 60 million ROC tokens for $6 million. $21 million were raised in December of 2017 in an ICO presale. Nick Cowan, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me okay.
Yeah, the reception is nice and clear. In the press release announcing the Gibraltar Blockchain Exchange ICO, you said that the GBX seeks to create a new era of trust, openness, and global acceptance for the crypto industry. So how exactly is the Gibraltar Blockchain Exchange working to legitimize the crypto industry?
Yes, of course. I'll certainly do my best. We had seen at the Gibraltar Stock Exchange a couple of things happening. I think the first thing is our government had issued a consultation paper back in January 16, which is a long time ago now, putting forward a question to the community to say, can we regulate financial services companies who use distributed ledger technology or the blockchain to transmit or store client assets? And if we're going to do that, how do we do this? And what are your recommendations? And that led to really about an 18-month consultation process that resulted in May 17, a regulatory framework being released by our government. And it's a principles-based framework that allows operators to move to Gibraltar and get licensed and regulated. And it came into law January the 1st, 18, so 2 weeks ago. And that provides, customer or consumer confidence and regulatory certainty for operators. And we're the first jurisdiction in the world to have that regulatory framework. So that was the first bit of background. Secondly, we saw, enormous growth, $3.7 billion in the end of ICO issuance through 17. And, we saw that as obviously fantastic and interesting, but at the same time concerning, because there didn't seem to be really any standards in terms of, who can issue a token, who is eligible to issue a token, is it a utility? If you're an issuer, how do you know the advisor you've appointed is any good? How do you know the token contributors are who they say they are? Have they been cleared for AML and KYC? If you're an investor, could the controllers, have they been vetted? Could this be a scam? Have you lost your money already? Et cetera, et cetera. And so we thought, we could, against that framework that's happening in the background, we could bring some governance and leadership based around best practices to token issuance. And that's why we formed GBX, the Gibraltar Blockchain Exchange, as a subsidiary of the Gibraltar Stock Exchange. And GBX is there to really bring rules and best practices where currently, there aren't any. And so the first step is we've got a sponsors code, and that was released yesterday on our website, gbx.gi, and you can go and see the sponsor rules and the application form. And if you think of sponsors as your sort of leading ICO issuers from the US, from Asia, etc., anybody is eligible to apply, and if you meet our criteria, you are then approved as a sponsor and you're on our website. That means that ICO issuers can approach you as a sponsor and know that they're coming towards a trusted network where the sponsors are qualified to take you through the process of preparing your white paper, which has to meet our listing rules, prepare your white paper, take you all the way through to getting your application bundled together, carrying out due diligence in terms of controller, commercial, legal, financial, technology, and then submitting your application to us, the exchange. Once we approve you, you launch your ICO, we publish your white paper, and then you're basically good to go. And when the tokens have been distributed and the public sale ends, you're guaranteed a listing on GBX, our cryptocurrency exchange. So it's a token sale platform and a cryptocurrency exchange that's owned and managed by a stock exchange. And I think that's really important for a couple of reasons. Number one, we're licensed and regulated at the parent level, and GBX is currently applying for its license as under the new regulations that I just referred to. Secondly, for a startup or fintech, it allows you to not only just a trusted network, but also go on a capital raising journey right through to ultimately an equity issue, maybe 6-7 years down the road, perhaps. And we think that's really important. And we think that also bridging the gap between traditional, if you like, capital markets, but also the crypto community, we're bringing that convergence together. And we think also that's a vital part of trying to institutionalize and mature the cryptocurrency market from being primarily a retail market through to, we saw Kodak announce a couple of weeks ago a token. And we see that really as a next stage of, what's been an incredibly successful marketplace, maturing of investors to institutions and maturing of issuers through to your mainstream corporate. So it's a tokenization of economies we think is now going to happen in a major way, and we want to be at the forefront of best practices providing, that same thing, investor protection, consumer confidence, and regulatory certainty for issues, and we think that's really powerful.
Okay, great. So we know ICOs can be conducted through the GBX. Other than regulation, what incentive do cryptocurrency firms have to use the GBX platform to host their ICO?
I think that the incentives to come to GBX, I think, are there's a couple. Mm-hmm. I think first of all, you know that you're coming to a trusted network, and the sponsor you appoint is qualified to take you through the process. The second thing is you're going to get access to a cleared pool of investors. The investors have been approved by our exchange to have their wallets there, and that's also really important. So the third thing is you've got access, as we said, to that broader ecosystem. So you're effectively joining a stock exchange ecosystem, and we think that has enormous benefits as we move forward in terms of providing solutions to issuers. And so I think there's really a number of key factors there that if you're an issuer and you're wondering, okay, I want to do a token sale. How do I do it? Where do I go? Who can I trust? How do I know that the investors are going to be cleared and eligible? I know what I can do. I can go to GBX because they've got a token sale platform and they're going to admit my token to trading, whereas currently, you do your ICO, and then what you have to do is often you've got to try and find an exchange that will actually take your token, and that can be hugely expensive. It can be time consuming, and often, I met somebody this week in London, Monday evening, and they had to choose an exchange which they weren't happy with because none of the other exchanges. They just said, look, unfortunately, we need 3 months to actually get you into our exchange.
3 months, wow, okay.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the exchanges are so busy because they're obviously this market is growing exponentially. So what we're saying to issuers is you don't have to worry about any of that. You're guaranteed trading and admission on our cryptocurrency exchange, and it just removes a huge headache for the issuer. They've got that certainty.
Right. Yeah. So the Gibraltar blockchain exchange ICO is scheduled to start this February on the 7th and end a week later on the 14th. And you have a goal of $6 million, and an additional $21 million were raised already during the ICO presale that took place in December, I believe. So first of all, can you tell me a little bit about how the blockchain platform on the exchange itself will work? How will that function?
Okay, so there's two parts to our planning process. Mm-hmm. The first part is in terms of the blockchain exchange itself, so GBX for utility tokens. We are developing the technology currently with a licensed and regulated exchange in Japan called Cowan, spelled with a Q-U-O-I-N-E. Mm-hmm. And Cowan are one of the world leaders, and they have fantastic technology. They've been going now for a number of years, and they're also licensed and regulated. That's really important for us, and they share the same core values as us. So in terms of the tech, it will be basically an order matching engine that will be extremely familiar to any wallet holder on any exchange, and will allow you to trade your traditional pairs, for example, Bitcoin dollar, but also trade any token that comes through our platform. That we will have a market trading in every single token. And,
so, for example, you could trade Ripple for IOTA.
Exactly.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Exactly. So so what we will do is we will kick off with probably 5 or 6 main pairs, because if you think about our timing, sponsor firms are going to go through the approval process over the next, say, 1 to 2 months. The technology will be rolled out probably in March. And by the time the sponsors have been approved and gone through their process with ICO issuers, then it's probably going to be April. So we'll be open, and rather than obviously sit there with nothing to trade, we felt it's really important to provide the full range of services to our clients, and that includes trading the main pairs. So the main pairs will kick off in advance of tokens coming through the system, which we would expect to come through in April.
Okay, very nice. And how will the $27 million that will be collectively raised through the ICO, how will that be used?
So in our white paper, we list out how we'll use it, but I think we really try to prioritize a number of things. I think obviously the main thing is the tech. The technology is vital for us to get that in place, and then also to look forward, which is in our roadmap in our white paper, to also move from utility tokens at the GPX level to also developing our technology for GSX as well. And that's really vital as for tokenized securities. The second thing I think, which is really important, is liquidity. We want to make sure that there's liquidity there for the ROC token. But I think thirdly, and probably most importantly, is making sure that our security and our customer service and our people and customer support and our AML and KYC requirements. The challenge that I think exchanges have at the moment, and we're seeing this daily. You look at someone like Binance, and they're talking about having 200,000 applicants every day coming into their exchange.
Yeah.
So you can imagine the demands that are on exchanges in terms of trying to process those new onboarded clients, but also service them once they're in, because customers need to have support. So the money we've spec'd out how we intend to spend it, and we've covered that in the white paper. But primarily, those are the requirements, which will basically take us through from now right through to the end of 18 and then beyond. So we've reserved about $10 million going into 19 and 20. So we are extremely careful about how we spend our money anyway. But the priority for us will be to make sure that we have a highly developed ecosystem that's secure, but also 24/7 customer support, and we want to make sure that the user experience is absolutely world class.
That's fabulous, because that's such a serious issue across the industry, is customer service on exchanges. So you'll have a 24/7 customer support. Will it be a hotline or a chat, or what? How exactly? Do you know how that will work?
Yeah, I mean, basically we'll provide both. Okay. So we want to be able to generally use chat lines, but we will have. See, most exchanges offer 24/5 customer support and 24/7 trading, and we want to be able to offer 24/7 trading and also 24/7 customer support, because often what happens is a client we'll sell a position, and then sometimes it takes time for the cash to transfer to their wallet, and of course you've got this window where the client is concerned and they want to know that their money is coming and it's safe, and they want to be able to ring somebody and say, is everything okay? Let alone just technical support. So yeah, that's absolutely vital. So we will have a 24/7 team that will be obviously English speaking, and it'll be literally around the clock, and we feel that's a vital part to differentiate ourselves from other exchanges.
Yeah, that's absolutely fabulous. Okay, so what kind of fees will traders on the GBX platform be charged for trading?
So we tried to keep it really simple, because we did an analysis of 25 exchanges, and there seem to be so many formulas out there. in terms of trading. So what we will do is we've kept it pretty simple. We're going to have a flat fee of 15 basis points for trading, and then you can pay for those fees using any currency, fiat, crypto, anything. But if you pay in ROC tokens or cash, which is Coin's token, that's a sign of the depth of our strategic relationship, you get a 33% discount. So you get discounted down to 10 basis points.
Okay.
So there's hopefully a real incentive there to own ROC token, to pay in ROC token, and you'll get a 33% discount on fees. The other fees that we charge are listing fees, and again, they're in our white paper, and that's part of just the transparency that we have with issuers. That if you come through our exchange, there's effectively a sliding scale from 1% down to 10 basis points, depending on the size of your deal, which goes up from 10 million to 100 million. So if you imagine they sort of are conversely correlated to each other. So a $10 million deal will pay a $100,000 listing fee. And if you did $100 million, it actually works out as $550,000 because it's a 55 basis point fee because it's aggregated as the deal size climbs. So it's 1% on the first 10 million, 90 basis points on the second 10 million, et cetera, et cetera. So, and they are payable in ROC tokens. Mm-hmm. And then the third fee is sponsor fees, which are also payable, annual sponsor fees, which are payable in ROC tokens as well. But the main answer to your question, trading fees, 15 bits or 10 if you use ROC tokens.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so now you've already mentioned the strategic partnership with Cowan. Has GBX formed any other partnerships, or what kind of enthusiasm, or what kind of reactions are you getting from the cryptocurrency world that's already been established?
I think what we found. I mean, I can tell you what we found and heard on our roadshow, and we met, as you can imagine, a huge number of investors. We spoke at all of the big conferences, including Block Show Singapore, Token Summit San Fran, Hong Kong FinTech Week. We spoke at the massive conference in Lisbon, Web Summit, and we had universally at our stands or after our speeches or in investor meetings, just really overwhelming positivity, which for me, of course, was completely caught me on the back foot because we thought that we were doing something important, but we definitely underestimated the feeling and support from the crypto community, which was overwhelmingly, we've been waiting so long for this to happen. This is so needed because, we get, and for example, a VC, we've had 400 white papers this year and we've invested in 4. Now, wow. If we had somebody else vetting out the rubbish and bringing quality ICOs to market and knowing that all of that due diligence has been done, this is absolutely vital. So that was amazing. The second thing is in terms of strategic relationships, look, we want to partner up with companies that have the same core values and ideally are licensed and regulated, because that's where we see the way the industry going. So, with regards to Coin, Japan is the only jurisdiction right now that has a licensed and regulatory framework for exchanges. And so for us, it was such an important step for us to take, not only in terms of technology development, licensing their tech, etc. It's much more important because, Coin have supported our ROC token issue. We have a lot of ideas about working together in the future, but also more importantly, I think Coin really like the idea of being able to provide their Japanese issuers with an EU partner exchange that they can look to dual list their tokens on GBX as well as Coin or cryptos. And secondly, we love the idea of being able to say to global issuers that list on GBX, we will dual list you on Coin, so you get access and exposure to the Japanese domestic market, but also you get access and exposure to having your token traded while we're asleep. And that's got to be an absolutely fantastic, because when Europe sleeps, liquidity tends to go down a bit. But obviously, if we can have that almost 24-hour, we'll be trading 24 hours anyway. But if we've got 2 exchanges trading your token, that can only be a good thing. If other jurisdictions put in a regulatory framework, and if that means other exchanges get licensed and regulated, and if that means we can sign up strategic partnerships, there's the benefit of our clients, then we will certainly look at doing that. And because our role here is, we hope, to grow the community globally based around best practices, because that can only help issuers and investors alike. And that's whether it's liquidity or price transparency or investor protection. That's what I think the market needs to mature.
You're right. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, and Gibraltar has kind of positioned itself as a territory that's particularly, friendly towards cryptocurrency firms and the blockchain industry in general. And on January 1st, you mentioned the new set of rules that went into effect that allowed firms working with DLT to earn licenses and become legitimized. But just a few days after that, the Royal Bank of Scotland informed the Gibraltar International Bank that it would no longer be processing transactions connected with cryptocurrency firms. So as different governments around the world and financial institutions, banks, continue to tighten their grips on the cryptocurrency industry, how do you expect that GBX will navigate that changing regulatory landscape?
It's a really good question, and the answer is a complex one. I think the first thing is, I think what Gibraltar is doing is leading the way in terms of regulation, and so I think we expect and hope, and from what I can gather, it's already started. Governments and other regulators entering into open and frank conversations with our government and our regulator to see how the experience of Gibraltar is. And really, the purpose behind regulation is primarily what? It's to protect investors. And that's why regulators have behaved the way they behave, because they're concerned. So I think the first thing is, we hope to show other jurisdictions, that our approach is the right approach, and rather than shut things down, you're better to actually say, listen, here is a framework, come to us and you could be licensed and regulated. That's strike one. I think strike two is, look, I don't believe that you can, and nor should you, stop innovation. And I think, we're going to see, I think over the next 5 to 10 years, the next Vitalics emerge with new technology, which is going to transform the way we live, the way we act, and the way financial services in particular is carried out. And I think, that banks, and I understand what banks, some banks are concerned because they're mainly concerned about AML and KYC, and we totally understand that. But again, you are going to have banks taking the lead. And and I think, the banks that take the lead will be the banks that will benefit, because I think if you try to shut the system down, all that will happen is you will drive people towards the reason in many ways behind the evolution of Satoshi and Bitcoin, which was to have a peer-to-peer payment system that didn't need the banking system. So I think I think what will happen is, with added regulation, banks will become more comfortable, banks will take the lead, and then you'll end up with a much more mature financial system. I think the way we navigate around it is, look, we've got to work closely with those banks that are crypto friendly, and there are banks out there that are crypto friendly, and in fact, GIB, who obviously were caught slightly off guard on the 27th of December. When RBS, made the decision they made, which in fact in early January they then denied that they had made that decision. So it's a bit confusing. It was on our local news that RBS actually denied that they have pulled the plug on crypto market segment correspondent banking for GIB. So it's a bit of a confusing situation.
It is very confusing.
Look, we have banks that are crypto-friendly, and we will have some banks that, are concerned. And I think that they will come around to it in time, because I think, it might be the genie is out of the bottle, and this business is only going to grow, and innovation has to be embraced. And that's why I think, the regulatory framework that we have in Gibraltar is absolutely, vital and leading the way. So I think we would love I had a meeting this week with a digital bank that is about to be licensed in Gibraltar.
Mm-hmm.
Those types of organisations, I think, will lead the way. And one of the things we've thought about ourselves at the GSX group level is actually looking at our own banking solution, out in 19, and maybe we'll open our own bank just to make sure that we can provide our clients with the certainty they need to grow their businesses. Because if we're happy that the AML KYC boxes are ticked, and we can provide our clients with basic banking services to build their business, then that has to happen, in my view. So we'll be looking at those solutions in the future. But fingers crossed, these solutions will be delivered, and the banking system will get more comfortable, and the business will grow.
Well, fabulous. Nick, thank you so much for your time. I don't have any questions. Yeah, absolutely. I don't have any more questions, but is there anything else that you'd like to add?
No, not at all. I just, I would just like to say, look, thank you for hosting us. We take nothing for granted, and we're humbled by the airtime that we get. And I would say that if any of your listeners have any more questions or anything, please feel free. It's nick.cowan@gsx.gi. Anybody wants to get in touch, please feel free, or we will answer any more questions that either through you or directly. And we would just love to fly the Gibraltar flag, because we think what we're doing is so exciting that we just want people to hear about us and join our mission. So if we can help in any further way, just don't hesitate to reach out, and that's all we'll say to you. So thanks ever so much for hosting us, and we really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Of course, yeah. Okay, Nick Cowan, thank you, and take care. Have a nice weekend.
Same to you. Thank you ever so much. Have a great weekend.
All right. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.